Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This being a show where we talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and/or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Kung Fu. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, we have the whole situation with Nikki and Pei Ling. Pei Ling is losing her control over Zhao. The more and more time that has started to pass, the more influence Zhao has begun to have over Pei Ling. So now it is a situation of they're trying to discover as much as they can about. We end up finding out kind of like a sad, interesting history about Zhao. Basically, the emperor felt that he couldn't trust her anymore. And ended up finding out that, because she is a traveler, it's like you can't use a normal prison to contain her. So he put her in a very specific container and made her starve to death. You're like, that's a very long time and that's excruciating. So it's like, yeah, you can understand why there's a lot of hate in Zhao's heart. So it's probably a situation of, I guess she's, it's like coming, she has to be coming back to this world to try and rule it. It's like, because she felt like she was done wrong. I don't know if there's a thing of she can try and, not unless she's going to come after descendants of like the emperor or something like that. But I'm like, I don't know what that bloodline looks like and where that gets traced to. Not unless like, Zhao can sense it or something like that. But I guess it's just like, no, I'm just going to conquer the world. I was trying to help someone, but you know what? Screw it. I'm the one with all the power now. I think it's just a situation of someone who was powerless at one point in time now has all the power, and it's like, now they're going to flaunt it and use it. So that's all I can assume is what Zhao. I mean, not only are you coming back to life, you're also coming back supernaturally charged too. So who knows what the end result of that's going to be, but basically, Nikki and them have to perform what is essentially an exorcism. And to do that, they need a very specific candle, which they had to get from the Wong's Eye. And I love Harry trying to trick them into like giving them the actual compass, but without telling them he became the compass. I was like, all right, but eventually they're going to find out. Because I thought when Henry touched like the compass or that's why he made sure to cover it up. Because if he did, now that he's become the compass, I don't know if the actual compass will glow anymore because everything, all that power in it is now in him. Now that he's going through the, he even said it in the episode. What was it called? The rebirth? Genesis. That's what it was. I couldn't remember it. Now that he's actually going through Genesis. So, and I almost wondered like, right, the candle's a mystical item. So I'm like, maybe it would react to him, but I guess his powers hadn't really activated yet. So, but I'm wondering in the future, the whole point later on is like the lady who runs the Wong's Eye is like, oh, I'm not stupid. I figured the moment I found out you were doing your dad's business, and I figured like, right, why was your dad so obsessed with this? Why was he about keeping you away from us? It's like, now I realize you had to be the compass, and now this makes 100% sense to me. So I will give you the candle, but in the future, at some point, I'm going to need you to do work for me because you as a compass, you can find mystical items, and there's so much magical energy in this world. We need help tracking down and procuring and locking away. And Harry accepts it because in the end, they need this to help Pei Ling. I'm also curious, like, was she about to let them walk away, not with everything? Because it's like, yeah, the fact is that there's instructions to it, and it's not a normal exorcism. It is a thing of the person basically has to do the exorcism themselves. Like, it wasn't until Henry made that agreement. It's like, right, she was just going to force their hand because if they had walked away or whatever, they still wouldn't have gotten everything. So it's like from the very beginning, she came here to bargain, what's your offer? Return the slab or suffer its curse. I had to say that because I was thinking of Eustace from Courage the Cowardly Dog. What's your offer? Anyway, so that's definitely going to be interesting going forward to see what that ends up being like. I wonder, will that just be like a side thing for Henry, or will that be like Henry's like potential? Are they setting up a potential exit for his character's story going forward because of this? Or is it just going to be like it's just going to be part of the main story now. Like every once in a while, the Wong's Eye is going to call him in. I mean, the mystical items they're hunting down might end up proving to be, it might even tie into the main story because Zhao could potentially go around gathering up mystical items. That might also be why she's weary of Henry as the compass. So, but some interesting discoveries we made. First and foremost, that there's a correlation between everything Jilon is going through and the whole Zhao circumstances. And it's not till this episode that I was watching the intro and I was like, Oh yeah, because they are making a focus on that, right? Because in the intro, it's a sword, and it's like that's what the harvester had. And then I saw the necklace. I was like, right, the necklace. I was like, is that how Zhao's getting stronger? Like, is she absorbing the souls? And turns out that's exactly what it was. It didn't even cross my mind before this episode to even correlate that. But it's like, once again, the show does a really good job of you have no context for it. And until, I mean, obviously you watch the intro enough, you'll be like, oh yeah, like it's there. Like I said, I paid attention to, the necklace that's, connecting Zhao and Pei Ling, but I never really paid too much, and I paid attention to the load, the lodestone and stuff like that in the intro, but it never crossed. I wasn't paying attention to the sword. So once again, there's 3 pieces, so it's all connected. So like I said, the whole Zhao thing could ultimately connect to the Wazai, like trying to like gather up all these like magical items and magical spots, because she could be like, trying once again full blown emperor, supreme conqueror type of. Once again, we don't know what Zhao's going to do given the opportunity once she's fully free. Luckily, Pei Ling was able to rein her in. It's like, right, what I felt in you, I thought it was anger, but in fact, it was fear, and used that fear against her because she was isolated, she was alone, and she had a long, painful death of starving in that cage. And so for now, Pei Ling is like, this is my mind, so I can trap you here. But even Pei Ling knows this isn't over. As strong as she is, and because of the harvester, she's only going to get stronger and stronger. She is eventually going to break out of that cage. Which we also don't know how many of the bloodlines are left. We know a good chunk of them are dead. Like, 7? What was it? No, it was probably more like 6, including Simon, got dropped this episode. But we don't know how much of the either bloodline, warrior or guardians. It's mainly guardians, but I don't know. Well, there's also Mia's mom has to be here too, doesn't she? Well, her circumstances might be. No, I was about to say she's a guardian, so. Or was she? No, she's from the warrior bloodline. So, cause we know that Jilon and Pei Ling's mom is gone. But I was like, I was just thinking about it. I was like, she has to run into Mia's mom at some point. Because at first I was like, could Mia's mom be it's like, but no, her mom's not the hybrid. Does make you wonder, it's like, where is the hybrid in all of this? Like, maybe like her death doesn't bring her here, even though she's like a combination of the warrior and guardian bloodline. Maybe it doesn't necessarily lead her here because I don't know, like you would assume she would be, so maybe she could be here. Like I said, along with Mia's mom or something like that. So that's definitely going to be interesting to see. Once again, who the harvester actually is. Because whoever it is like, who are they and why would they willingly work with Zhao? Like, I wonder we're going to find out he's actually like the emperor's son. Because we know the emperor had a son at the time or something like that. Could that be who he is? It's like, that's the only thing I can connect. Not unless it's actually Russell Tan in Kerwin's body again or something. But once again, going through the trouble of wearing the mask, it has to be a big reveal of like who the harvester is. So I was like, I could Russell Tan in Kerwin's body, or maybe even just Kerwin himself. Because I was about to say like, well, not unless we find out it's like Kerwin's brother Raymond, but it's like, no, they're not from the Guardian or Warrior bloodlines. To be fair, after everything Kerwin, I mean, that might be also the special exception because like he moves differently. Like he has abilities that they don't have. Like the fact is he can teleport in this world, so it feels like it is a space where probably like this is his domain. Like or at least he has special abilities. Or maybe not Pei Ling, but Zhao kind of gave him that. Who knows? It's going to be interesting to see. But right now, Jilon is alone, but I doubt she's the last. But I know those numbers are dwindling. I'm just curious what the exact... Because at the moment, every warrior... because she still could apply, but the problem is she's still alive, so he can't absorb her soul. So, I mean, because she will be the final one of like, yeah, you're going to have to... I mean, what happens if you kill her here? Where will she go afterwards? Because they were all dragged here because this is where they were all dropped off now that the world that they were from collapsed. So now the question is like, right, say like, if, for example, if like Nikki died, like where would she go? Would she end up in this world because the world where all the Guardians and Warrior bloodlines ended up is gone now? Would she end up here? The same thing for Jilan. Would she die and then pop in back here again as a spirit now? Or is it just like, poof, you no longer exist? I don't know. Maybe even in death, because he would specifically have to destroy her spirit for that to happen. So I'm curious what the circumstances around how that would 100% work. So, but Henry's visions has allowed him to see. He now knows that Jilan is there. So, and he's trying to contact Nikki, but Nikki and Bo are enjoying some fireworks of their own. Which I thought that was kind of an interesting development because Nikki's trying to make it up to Bo, and it's like, right, we missed out on some time, but let's make up for it. But it's like, with Nikki's life being what it is, emergency after emergency, plus now she's trying to keep Bo at a distance because it's like, right, we just started, and I can't like jump into deep end with like, yo, my family and I am connected to all this supernatural stuff. It's wild, it's crazy. Like, it's too much to kind of bring, but she didn't realize at the same time, like, she was putting up such a barrier, and Bo recognized it. It's like, right, like, at the end of the day, he's like, there's so much about you I don't know. But I'm still suspicious of Bo in the sense of there's something there. Now, whether he's going to be, like, truly evil or something like that, I doubt that. Not unless you don't think Bo is the harvester, do you? Not unless, not unless he's actually a part of this. But why would he be? That's the big question. Once again, not unless he's like I said, maybe he's descended from because he noted that he was like, oh, he had a Shifu that died. But once again, we still never got an answer to that. Was something brought up in episode 1 we have not circled back to yet. So I'm like, not unless he's the harvester and he's able to bounce between. Maybe it's a very special ability that he has that allows him. But once again, like, what would be your connection with Zhao? Not unless she gave him life. Like, all right, this is where we could gotta get into this complicated territory of like, all right, this is where we're going full blown supernatural conspiracy theory here. What if he is from the warrior or guardian bloodlines, and Zhao made it possible for him to get resurrected? So now he owes her. So now it is a situation of, yo, you can pop in and out of this world because of me. Because Zhao could do it because she was a traveler. So whoever this is as a harvester might have a traveling ability too. So just as we're dealing with this harvester stuff, Bo's in the story. So there might be a correlation and connection there. So maybe that also connect. Like, not, because I was like, nothing's come up about Zhao having kids, so, because I was about to say, not unless, like, he's actually, like, her descendant or something, but the fact is he's like, oh, I had a Shifu, because now, once again, I'm thinking, like, well, what if he's an old school person that's been in that realm for a long time and had a connection with Zhao when they were, both in that realm together, and it's like, yeah, maybe he's the emperor, or maybe he's the emperor's son, and she's been giving them a second chance now, so they owe her, so they have to do this for her, because it's the only way, either they believe in her mission, or, like, this is, if they don't, like, Zhao's gonna dump them back in a world that no longer exists. I don't know. I'm gonna keep Bo in mind now that I've thought about that. It didn't correlate into my head until I started thinking about it. Just because, yeah, he talked about the fact that we don't know anything about Nikki. It's like, we as an audience don't know much about Bo, so we'll see. I'm keeping him in the back of my mind. Because I just feel like because they making a whole point of like her moving past Henry and the whole Bo thing, it just feels like that's not gonna have a happy ending. Like, it just feels like, I don't necessarily think she's gonna go back to Henry, but I just don't think it's going to work out in the way that any of them are hoping it will, but we'll have to wait and see. So, but at the end, Nikki is willing to tell Bo everything, so that is good. So we'll see where things kind of go from there. Like I said, I'm going to keep my suspicions. Some other interesting developments. Jin is working with Anthony, and they're obviously, like, his opponent's going to start flinging mud, so it's like, hey, let's dig up some mud. Well, apparently Anthony's got some skeletons in a closet that he's not letting anyone know. And when he was robbed in this episode, the person, because Jen ends up going to Evan and Althea to kind of work on this. And so by looking at it, it looks specifically like he was aiming for the suitcase. He made a point to take it too. Turns out it's like they were after the dirt. Luckily, they found the suitcase, but they didn't find the person who was responsible. They returned the suitcase, but Anthony found out that the photos were gone. It must be some really, really bad dirt, because from the little bit we saw the picture, it looked like he was shaking someone's hand. So I'm like, he must have done bad business with someone, and he doesn't want those skeletons to come out. So it's all about that. Was that Ordinance 11? He has to kind of change his position on it, and he does, and you could tell how disappointed Jen was, and the fact is that he didn't let anyone know. It's like, right, but because he wants to keep it so secret, he's not even willing to let anyone know about it, because people could help you, because who knows, it will stop here. You change your mind on Ordinance 11. He says he's going to vote yes. There's still time for that to potentially be changed, but still. So, and obviously this kind of connects back to the, because this is all about that private security company that set everything in motion. Like, they seem to be like a big threat this season, like on the more world side front with everything going on in Chinatown. They specifically are the bad guys with everything with Zhao and this harvester going on too. Cause it is interesting too, like really quickly, Bo did say, oh, maybe he was just talking about the relationship stuff, but he was like, I guess it's because Nikki was like, yeah, I have to like, call you, because I was like, he was coming after to talk to her because he's like, I didn't want to have this like talk over text or whatever, but it was like probably about everything going on between them, it's probably what that was. I thought it was something more desperate, or like in the sense that it was like something really, really bad that he was referencing to, but I don't think so. I think it's just like, no, like I wanted to talk more about us. So either way, what this whole private security whole situation about, like I brought up previously, they had to be filling that Russell 10 void, like not unless there's someone else like backing them or in charge of that whole thing. It might be a very specific person kind of at the forefront of that we're just not aware of. But so there's that. Then the other side of the episode also has the whole situation of kind of like this disconnect between Mei Li is caught between Sebastian and Carrie. Sebastian obviously is like, this is her chef, this is a friend. Obviously it's like he's part of the family in more ways than one, not only because of the restaurant, but also he's dating Ryan, your son. So there's that. But also Carrie is a business partner in this situation, and she is giving you this opportunity, especially because she's there to be like, hey, like she's that middle ground between you and corporate, and she's trying her best. Which now it's like, yeah, it definitely seems like, especially with what she's up to later on, it definitely seems like it is an attack from multiple fronts. So why, I mean, I guess that's the whole point of like, right, keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer, but also it's like, right, you want to draw people in with a sense of security and friendship, when in actuality, you're here to blow up their whole situation and destroy their business from the inside out in many different regards. I think she was kind of a plant. That's why she went above and beyond, because I think she's probably a lot more connected in this, which I was like, oh man, please don't make her the bad guys. And just the end of this episode makes that super suspicious. But obviously, the bad blood became about because she's the one that gets to dictate a lot of stuff of like, yeah, what works on the menu, what doesn't. There's a lot of collaborative stuff to it, but Sebastian, it rubs him the wrong way that it's like, right, you and me, like chef, we're the ones that figure stuff out, but Mei Li's like, we got to find this new work balance between it all. And even eventually tell Sebastian, like, you need to respect Carrie, because he didn't respect her business, her position on things, because for one, it's like because they were going to do like a Chinese Filipino like dish, fusion dish, but she's like, no, this is a Chinese restaurant and it's all about branding, and that can hurt the branding. I'm like, why would that hurt the brand? It's because it's a whole thing about authenticity, I guess it's what she was saying. So that's the complication there. But Sebastian was like, yeah, but some, like, I think specifically he was going to say Caucasian. I don't think he was going to just say white. I think he was going to use the word Caucasian. Like, it's like some Caucasian lady is going to tell us, like, how to run things. And I think that's an interesting conversation in its own right, because I remember this being news a couple years ago. There was this, like, I don't remember, I'm going to get some of the details wrong, but there was a chef who was like, he's a white guy who makes pho. And basically he kind of was making a whole point of like, oh, this is how, like, this is what you should do with making pho. And a lot of people, not everyone, but a good chunk of, I think specifically people in the Asian community were kind of upset, because it's like, who are you, like, from outside of our culture? This is our culture to tell us how to do it. Like, it rubbed people the wrong way. And I think his thing was kind of like, right, this is how I prepare pho. Like, pho is a dish that so many different people have their own twists and turns and development to it. But for them, it's almost like oh yeah, this guy from outside of our our culture is going to tell us how to do it. It's like, even if it gets into that complicated territory. It's different with Carrie's case because it's one, you're an outside business partner coming in to dictate stuff. You're from the business side of things. If she was well trained in culinary arts, I don't think he would have as much of an issue if it came from her. But it's like having a white lady come tell you like, yo, you can't do this. You telling you about authenticity when it comes to, it can rub you the wrong way, especially because this has been such a collaborative thing between him and Mei Li for so long, because she's the person that was able to give him another chance. He sees the dedication, the art, the creativity that she has, and he sees someone wonderful, she's, probably like a second mother to him. So it's like, of course, he's willing to give things a shot for her sake, but I think that's why it's like, for having some outsider from all of that, like, we got our ebb and flow, and now it's that, yeah, it was 50-50, we're doing our thing, we got our ebb and flow, and now we got to split this to 33.33% just because we got to now add in Carrie. But now you see at the end, she's up to some foul stuff because she's looking into Sebastian's files, and she's got that look like, oh, this is ammunition I can use to kind of bury this restaurant, or at the very least put this restaurant in a position where it's more so under their control, like a kind of a subsidiary thing of like the business, like eventually this business can kind of consume it. This could be their foothold into this community, is Harmony Dumplings with all this other stuff. Like, she definitely has to be connected to that private security situation going on. So we'll ultimately have to wait to see how this all ultimately ends up playing out, but I can see that's like a twofold strike on two different fronts. And it is interesting that I think Jin and Mei Li find themselves on different sides of that circle, and Jin with Anthony on that side of things, and Mei Li with the whole Carrie situation on this side of things. And then obviously you have the rest of the Shin family, that being Nikki, Althea, and Ryan, in the middle, kind of working on the whole Zhao thing, and whether that will bleed over into those other storylines, we'll have to wait and see. But I'm really interested to see where the next episode takes us with all of this. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.